Hey guys, welcome to our video. I want to share with you the power of paper and pen. It may seem like a strange thing to say, but by using these two very simple tools, and of course you can be more sophisticated with spreadsheets and mind maps and all this other stuff on a computer. But these will give you really some wonderful benefits if you are in a lawsuit. And here's what I mean by this is you take paper and pen or Google spreadsheet or whatever you want to use, okay? And just write out the details and the facts of your case. Because when we put it down on paper or in a spreadsheet, and look, we use sort of fancy, litigation software and strategy software, but sometimes it literally is just a notepad and a pen. And write down all the facts, okay? And even if you think you know what maybe a document says, the contract or whatever it might be, still look at it, write it down. And I want to give you three sort of very different examples of this and how just by doing that, sometimes you can uncover the key to the case. And so the first example is from a number of years ago. We represented a family that had multiple people killed in a train wreck. Okay, so it's just a terrible situation. Well, as part of that lawsuit, we got the data, the event recorder data from the railroad that we sued. And so if you took it at face value, it supported what the railroad said, that as they came to the crossing, they blew the horn at the right distance and everything was perfect, speed was perfect, they did nothing wrong, we just pulled out in front of them. Well, we knew that wasn't true because we had witnesses. And we knew that the horn did not blow till right before the impact. And I won't bore you with all the details of railroad law, but you have to sort of back up a certain amount of distance and start blowing the horn in a certain pattern. So we took a whiteboard and we put all this data on there. Now we could have done it on the computer, but I wanted to be able to see it. And I also had an expert, and oddly enough, he looked exactly like Chuck Norris. Strangest thing. But I had this expert, and we're in my office for, a day, 2 days, 3 days, just looking at this data. And we're like, something is wrong. And we kept looking at it, sort of look at it from this angle and look at it from that angle. And what if we back it up? What if we go past the wreck? And we figured out that they had monkeyed with the recorder. Now, not literally with the recorder, but the data that went in. If you think about it on a train, they don't have rubber wheels, right? So they're metal wheels. So as they proceed along, those kind of slightly get smaller because it's metal on metal. So you have to measure the distance of the wheel, the diameter of the wheel. And we figured out that they manipulated some of the numbers. And that made the whole case just come alive. And then we were able to let them know that we knew they had monkeyed with it. And while they said this had nothing to do with it, then there's a 7-figure settlement shortly after that. So that's an example of just writing down everything and looking at it, studying it carefully. And sometimes just a gut feeling. You're just like, man, I know in my heart there's just something wrong with this information, with these facts. And so you study it. Now, here's another example. Let's say that it's a foreclosure case. And in Alabama, where I practice, the foreclosure happens without a judge, and then they sue you to kick you out. Well, we're looking at this, and one thing I learned from a friend of mine is, again, you read every part of that mortgage. Well, and I'll give you two examples with foreclosures. One of those had a very unusual provision. It said all notices from the mortgage company to the consumer had to be by certified mail. Very unusual. People assume that's what it said. They really don't. Okay, this is an unusual. Well, they sent a notice, and the servicing company, that's who you make your payments to, they're not used to that provision. So they just sent it by regular mail. And then a lawyer sent another notice. So in Alabama, we have what's called the default notice, then the acceleration notice, then they advertise it, then they sell it outside the courthouse. Well, you have to follow those steps precisely. They didn't follow the step because they never sent the default notice. They go, yeah, but we sent it. No, you didn't. Not according to the mortgage, because the mortgage says you must send that by certified mail. They didn't know that. Well, I didn't know it either till I read that in the mortgage. Well, I had another case where the mortgage will tell you where the advertisement for the foreclosure has to happen? What county? And what county the foreclosure sale has to happen? Well, at 99.99% of the time, it's in the county where the property sits. But I had one case where it wasn't. And so, again, everybody's just assuming, well, it's the county where the property is. So that's where they do all this stuff. But that's not what the mortgage said. So again, when we just kind of methodically go through, put it down on paper, sometimes we can look at it and go, oh, wow, I see that they did something really bad here. Another example is you're sued by a debt buyer. And this is pretty common, where you have the original creditor and they sell it to, let's say, Portfolio Recovery, who sells it to Midland Funding, who sells it to LVNV Funding, who sues you. Okay, and so that's what they say. They put that in the lawsuit, they put that in affidavits, and it's all perfect. They go, Judge, we have this thing perfectly arranged. But then as you dig into it and you look at documents, you look at the paperwork, maybe on your credit report, if you have some previous credit reports, you realize it went from original creditor to Portfolio Recovery to Midland Funding to Portfolio Recovery to LVNV. Okay? And so you say, well, what's the difference at? Well, it's a different chain of title. Okay? And so we point that out and say, hey, LVNV, you swear under oath that you bought it from Midland Funding, but this paperwork says you bought it from Portfolio Recovery. Well, which one is it? And then they start squirming and go, well, don't worry about the paperwork. Those are just details. Or we've had cases where lots of these debt buyers like to have all these different entities. It'll be like XYZ debt collector, Roman numeral 1, and then Roman numeral 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And there's reasons. I won't bore you with all the reasons. But sometimes they mess that up. Okay, so it supposedly was bought by XYZ debt buyer, Roman numeral 1, and then sold to Roman numeral 2, but you find out it's actually bought by Roman numeral 3 and sold to number 4. And so again, by just charting this out on paper, on Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, a Word document, whatever you use, mind mapping software, just to see it. Because sometimes when you look at it, you go, oh, wow, they really missed something here. I mean, we've had foreclosures, we've had debt buyer lawsuits where you have this chain of title and then it stops and then it picks up over here with somebody new going for it. They're missing that section. Okay? Or as I said, personal injury cases, wrongful death cases. We might look at the truck driver's hours. And, I swear I didn't drive over my allotted hours and, I wasn't, trying to rush home or we look at the data and we go, that just doesn't make sense. And so sometimes you can catch them in a lie. And we learned a long time ago, the most effective way to try a case, if you can catch the other side in a lie, is you try the lie. Okay? That becomes a big part of the case, is that they lied. Because then we can argue to the jury, well, if they lied about this, what about this over here? They have no credibility. They probably lied about that. So the jury's free to almost disregard everything they say because you caught them in one lie. And so my encouragement, both for lawyers watching this as well as consumers, particularly if you're handling your own case, is just be methodical. Even if you say, oh, well, this is the third time I've been sued by Midland Funding. I know what's going on. No, still get out pen and paper, write it down, chart it all out, because you might find something that's really, really critical for you that will be of great help in your case. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.